A global recession, trade wars, and Darwin property prices. This one has been a real head scratcher to try and work out exactly what will happen to Darwin's property market from all of the changes in recent weeks. We've done a whole range of videos for 9 months now even, talking about the rise of Darwin and how it will perform really well. I don't need to recover the old ground here. I'd rather just tell a story around what I think this all means for Darwin property prices and give you running updates. So if you're thinking about investing in Darwin, you know what it actually means and what all these changes will actually do to the Darwin property market. So let's begin by unpacking what this means to begin with. So the Darwin property market is the #1 performing capital in Australia. I'm not too surprised it's April 2025 and I'm saying that. I was pretty sure about that about 6 months ago, that come this time it will be performing, and now it is in terms of its data. It's gone from bottom to top very, very quickly, and that investor-led activity has very much been taking place. But there's other positive factors also driving it. Think of yourself, if you live in Darwin, maybe you're watching this and you do live in Darwin. You're probably out there being like, should I buy in Darwin? I might only be here for a few years because it's a transient sort of location. You might be there for work for a little period of time and you're wondering, should I buy? It probably makes sense to rent. But there's a lot of you out there that might be being like, hang on, property prices are going to rise here for the first time in like 10 plus years. I'm buying really, really cheap. It is cheaper to buy than rent, and interest rates are going to come down. Makes a lot of sense if you live in Darwin right now to think, hey, it's time to buy. We're getting some early reports of that at the moment. At Alaya Property with Adi, he has been purchasing in Darwin recently, and he's been talking about the on-the-ground behavior with me, and he has mentioned that there is a lot of owner-occupier competition kicking in too. And I suspect it is all those Darwinites that are just there being like, hey, if it's party time, this is my city, I want to be part of the party. I think that's what's going on there. So you have all these underlying reasons why Darwin is so positive. We've talked about that at length. Really, really strong yields, great unemployment story, really strong economy at the moment with a lot of job creation actually occurring. Values that are just way off where they should be, so low. No real construction pipeline there. The same data-led story is now starting to take shape. I was following the economic story, but now the data story is starting to take shape. Days on market's coming down, total listings is coming down, sales transactions going up. All the data stories that you'd expect, that is happening right now. And Darwin's gone from cold market to a little bit of a watch and wait to warm to just smoking hot. That's where it's at the moment. It's smoking hot. But really, the point of this video and the point of everything on this channel has always been about trying to stay one step ahead of the game. Reading the winds a little bit, paying attention to the news, understanding economic changes that are on the horizon. And this last couple of weeks, we've had a monumental one that could change the global order in a monumental way for decades to come. It is so hard to unpack exactly the quantum and size of the change that we are in at the moment. And trade has been one of the core reasons of so much prosperity amongst developed countries and developing countries all around the world. The ability to access other people's markets and sell our products there and buy other products from there. It allows individual countries to focus on what they are good at, and economies have been shaped around free trade actually existing. But that is at risk right now. The two biggest countries are at war with each other, at least economically speaking, and they are no longer effectively trading with each other with such high tariffs in place, 150 odd % right now, and it seems to be rising every 2 minutes. I just have to hit refresh and, the president's gonna be like, another 20% for you. That seems to be the situation we're in at the moment. But the best way to describe it, and I told my daughter a bedtime story last night, and this is the simplest way, is there's a kingdom here and there's a kingdom here. They're the two giant kingdoms, and the rest of these world's countries are just small little kingdoms around it with these two behemoths here. And the two behemoths, who were once slightly friends and traded with each other and followed the spirit of trade rules that have been in existence for a long period of time, have now decided to put their gates up and say no more from each other. But that causes so much disruption and dislocation because each of these countries rely on each other for so many things and they've become so inherently interlinked. That has serious, serious consequences, and Darwin could be in the firing line. I don't see how any of these changes are positive for Darwin. We've done a whole range of videos that are going to talk about interest rate cuts and how it helps Melbourne, how it helps Sydney, how it even helps Brisbane and Adelaide to some degree as well, and how it's positive there. But when it comes to Darwin, I can't see this change being a positive one. It is one that creates a little bit of a question mark on an obvious boom that is happening right now. Darwin is the place that, as of 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have said absolutely clearly, if you want to make a quick 100 grand, the best market to buy in is in Darwin. If you bought 6 months ago, you probably already made it. If you followed that advice, you've probably already made that 100 grand. If you tried to sell to an investor today, just wait another month or two and make them all fight over each other to go buy your property, and just make them compete at an auction or something and keep upbidding them, and then you'll find somebody that overpays for your property. That's the market dynamics in a really, really hot market. You can make your quick 100K this way. But this puts a bit of a question mark on it. So let's go through the Darwin economy and where it sells to. So this is the problem with Darwin. Darwin is not a diversified economy at all. It's completely different to the numbers that we were looking at when it comes to Sydney and Melbourne in terms of diversification, and looks a little bit like Perth. Not quite the same, but a little bit like Perth. According to the ABS and the NT Treasury, mining and engineering make up 32% of its gross state product, and most of that is LNG. The other sectors, construction, public administration, healthcare, manufacturing, education, and tourism. So the other 2/3 of the economy, they'll be okay. They're not going to be that impacted, and they might even have some positive boosters associated with lower interest rates. But 1/3 of the economy is in a big question mark, and that is too big. It is a huge, huge part of their economy, and they export LNG to China. So I had to look around and be like, what do people use LNG for? And then I thought about it. We did a little bit of research. It's about energy and about powering the resources and the country's economic engine room. And if the economic engine room is no longer having to produce so many goods and services, in fact, they're going to produce a lot less because they got no one to sell it to now, and they're going to be in oversupply, then they may not need as much LNG. So China remains the world's largest LNG importer. They get it from Darwin, and Darwin gives it to them. That may be in a little bit of risk at the moment. Also, I've talked about it in other episodes as well about Darwin, is one of the reasons why you'd invest in Darwin is it all looks good now, but you're buying a lottery ticket into the future as well. There is a lot of gas projects in the pipeline that are quite large and material that can completely change the underlying frameworks of the economy in Darwin and drive population growth there. Will those projects get the green light if one of the biggest buyers all of a sudden says, I can't afford it anymore because I kind of don't need it? That is all put a giant question mark on. So that is kind of the broad summary position here. It's not one that I'd say don't buy in Darwin right now. It's one that I'd say that you'll still do fairly well if you go invest there right now. But this is something to watch very, very closely. It does make sense to pay attention to the trade war, and this is not a positive story for Darwin at all. It does have the potential to slow it down in the years ahead, and it does add that little bit of risk. Hey everyone, about a quarter of you have subscribed to this channel. That means 3 out of every 4 of you haven't. If you're watching this channel regularly, can you do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and that bell notification? So how do I summarize this all about who should be buying in Darwin right now? It's summarized by those that want to make a level of quick return, those that have a lot of property elsewhere and want some exposure to Darwin, those that want positive property yields, because Darwin offers positive property yields at the moment, and that gets stronger and stronger in lower interest rates. So there's quite a few reasons to buy there at the moment, and those that do want to do really, really well in the short run. And there's not many other places there at the moment. Also, I'm pretty sure of it, pretty much all the big buyers agents are there now. They've picked this up. It is the place to invest. It's fairly early on in its economic cycle. So I expect the potential for Darwin property prices, it really could double. There's real scope for the affordability of Darwin house prices to double if the economy continues to perform. So this change, I don't think is going to lead to a huge reduction in Darwin property prices or anything like that. That's Perth. That's something that's in danger. Darwin's not in danger of that at all because it hasn't risen at all for a long period of time. It's just one where you pay attention to and be like, hey, look, that huge upside growth potential, it's got a little bit more of a question mark on, and it's something to pay very close attention to rather than just studying the data that everyone else is doing, because the data is going to be so positive right now. Demand is shooting through the roof, supply is coming down, the buyer's agents are tilting the data, there's data positive factors everywhere. All of that's going to be a real positive story, and then more and more is going to pile on top of that because they just read the data and be like, yes, I want to go buy there. But really, what you want to be looking at is LNG and how it impacts Darwin. One other little variable that I'd like to look at here is the LNG price and see how that's changed. I don't see anything too concerning here. LNG prices have fallen this week, but they are quite volatile. They're really high in the year 2022 to 2023. And since then, they've come down a lot. Darwin property prices did fall during that little down period. So there's my summary of Darwin. This change, the Trump trade war, the global recession, all of this isn't particularly positive for Darwin, but I'm not so sure it's an overwhelming, clear, get out now message either. I think it's more of a, if you're planning on investing there, it probably still makes sense for you. It's a great chance to do really well in the short run. It's a bit of a boom market, but it can also be a bust market too. So pay attention to this stuff because it does change the frameworks, especially for a small capital like Darwin that can be easily influenced by some small economic changes, and especially for non-diversified economies in Australia. If you found this video interesting, you might want to touch base with our other Darwin episodes that can tell you a little bit more about the frameworks for why Darwin is so good. You can go back on this channel for over the past year and you'll find a whole range of videos where we've talked about Darwin and how property investors will keep coming there as the data gets better and better.